Okay.
Go for it.
Perfect. So welcome everyone to the Sensei Ask an Expert webinar, another one for February. How exciting. So today we're talking about the benchmarking AI in project and portfolio management. Where does your PMO stand? And this is based off our AI survey we conducted in 2025. All right, Ryan, next one, please. So, like always, a bit of housekeeping before we begin. If you do have a question, please just use the raise a hand tool or just put it in the chat function. Otherwise, just please remain on mute throughout the presentation. This session is being recorded, so you'll have the follow-up content and recording sent out after the session, as well as access to the report. There'll also be a Q&A at the end of the session. However, just as I mentioned before, put your hand up if you do have one. Thank you, Ryan. And perfect. Now I'm introducing you Ryan Darby, our Vision Consultant AI Lead for today's presentation. Thank you, Ryan. Hands over to you.
Thank you very much, Ellie. Hello, everyone. We're going to have a slightly different session today, and it's going to be about a benchmark survey that some of you may have taken part in, and there will be opportunity for the rest of you to take part in this year's one. And Ellie will actually give you a reward for attending today by sharing the benchmark report with you. We're going to look at what this thing is and how it can actually help you. We're going to talk about from this study what we found as good ways to get started with AI in project management. The main part is going to be how do you compare? It's going to compare the pair. How do you compare to those organizations around you? And we will then conclude with some recommendations. So what is this? The inaugural annual AI in project management benchmark? Well, this has come about through a need to provide information to the industry, the market effectively, on what do they need to know and how do they compare. AI is generally new to most people. Most people are exploring, really. And it's a case of people don't know what they don't know. One of the things that they don't know is, and they're interested in, and they keep asking us is, well, how does AI work in the project management space? Because there's not actually a lot of information out there on that. Obviously, companies like Sensei are doing things in this area, but it's a bit harder to get real information when you start Googling this stuff. The thing that organizations or PMOs really run into is, and they keep asking us every single time, it's like, oh, can you tell us about other organizations? What have they done? They want to see what others have done. They want to see someone lead first, and they will then follow. They're also being asked by their management, like, hey, it's great you're asking me for money to pay for this AI, but what is this thing, and what has the organization next door done? And then it comes down to how are we doing in relation? Are we ahead? Are we behind? And this is really there for you to understand, are you in trouble? Are you being left behind? Do you need to go to your managers and say, look, stop delaying this thing, because I can point to these 5 other organizations that relate to us and they're 2 years ahead of us. We should catch up. Okay, so the benchmark will be done yearly. There will be another one this year. We will talk about that again at the end. This will give you a way to compare yourself to others around you. Will give you a way to validate your own efforts and just see how do you fit in. Do you need to be sort of calm or concerned? And will also, over time, help you understand trends as we see these things and see what other organizations are doing. So we're effectively crowdsourcing what's going on. So there's going to be a little bit of interactivity in this one. It is based on a survey after all. There will be 3 polls. Ellie will help out by starting the poll. The first one is, did you complete the survey last year? Some of you would have, some of you wouldn't have. It's okay. I'm just interested in actually knowing who on the call did. I'm hoping lots of you did.
You want me to call it out for you, Ryan?
If you could please call it out. I am down to 1 monitor today, so I can't see.
No worries. So we only got 18 responses. I can see 46 on, so I might just give it a second.
We need the numbers, people. You'll get value off the numbers later on in the session. So have a go.
All right. Looks like it's plateauing. So at the moment, we've got about a 24% saying yes, 28% saying no, and 44% saying no. But I promise to do it in 2026.
Okay. So to the yeses and the 44% saying you promised to do it this year, thank you very much. as we go through, hopefully you get some useful statistics off this, and it will grow year by year. You are also able to let us know after the session or just in the future what you would like to know. We're essentially gathering information from organizations like yours. You let us know what you need to know, and we will then try and work that into the survey for you. Okay, so let's start at the end by summarizing this. The key findings we found from it is sort of expected in that most organizations are interested in AI because AI is everywhere these days. Interest is strong, but it's pretty unfocused. So they're not too sure what they should be interested in, what they should use it for. There's a lot of, I want AI, and we will go into this quite a lot later, but they don't really know what they wanted. They don't have a clear use case yet. It's kind of like, in a respectful way, kicking tires. Like they know something's out there, they have a hunch that this could be of value, but they're trying to figure out what they could do with it. Generally, they don't know what to do with this, so they don't have business cases, but management is providing budgeting. So quite a number of organizations are allocating budget for future years for AI, knowing something is coming. But this does create a bit of a tension in that you suddenly get the money. If you don't choose what to use that money for, you could end up going down the wrong path. And overall, so generally, adoption is on the individual level. So people, for example, using Copilot, working out their own way to do it, mainly project managers, PMO people, figuring out how to reduce grunt work, admin work of their own. Some are working on larger trials, so it's something for the entire team or something for the whole PMO. Let's actually look at the meaning behind this a little bit. So if that interest is strong but unfocused, part of the reason we've found for this is that people think AI is some sort of special magical tool. Like, no, it's not. You special, not the tool. And you have actual problems. We all have problems in work, okay? And you have these problems that need to be solved. AI is just part of the solution. What you really want to do is not think AI is some scary thing you have to really get into in detail. Focus on your pain points and AI will come, essentially. Now, when people are coming to us and saying, show me your AI, is happening a lot to vendors. The problem is we show it to you, but you don't yet know what you want. So it's like throwing a dart into the dark. You don't know what you're going to hit. And we may show you something that you like, but we may not. And then you just sort of lose time. You wait hoping someone will show it to you. Be requirements-led, not solution-led. Now, those without a business case, but are getting budget, are exposing a really interesting phenomenon here, in that a lot of organizations are putting AI in. They're not focusing on why it should go in. And they're creating the classic mistake from, we solved this in the 80s for the old people on the call. Do requirements, then do solution, not the other way around. Okay, so we need to think about that. And the last point is actually a positive one. It's actually quite good to start with individuals and work outwards. It helps you in a very low impact, low cost way, learn very quickly and learn what's actually really important. And it's quite a recognized now step in your maturity journey. So I encourage people to explore. So if we sort of summarize this, I'll let you read the cartoon on the left, and some of you may recognize who Dilbert and the pointy head boss is. The problem that us on the vendor side are seeing emerge from the survey as well is that people are coming to the vendors asking if you've got AI. They don't like what they see. So they get shown some AI and they're like, well, nah, I don't think that's the AI for me. I don't know what I want yet, but I'll know it when I see it. Then they delay it longer. And this is the problem now. So this is actually what's emerged here, is that people are not finding what they want because they're not tackling it from a requirements first perspective, and they're looking for some solution to match an unknown problem. Then they retreat and they think some more, then they have another go. Sometimes, because there's budget being allocated now, they end up being given or buying tools such as Copilot. So we're obviously a Microsoft partner. Copilot, we would obviously say is a good idea, but it can be quite unstructured as to how it's used, and sometimes it's not supported, so people struggle with it. Then it ends up failing. So they start again. They go out there and they ask all over again. So the main takeaway is the most obvious thing from this is figure out your pain points, define your requirements, then solve the problem, and AI will probably only be a small part of that problem. So I'm saying you should do things in a different way. Let's elaborate on that a bit more, and then we're going to get into what you've been saying, survey says type stuff. So the first thing is the way to tackle AI is to start small and explore. Individuals using Copilot and starting to think about this is how I can actually save time, and this is a good way to do it. Okay, but don't use it to go and create your meal plan for the week, where you can use it actually for your work, and then start as a team coming together and defining, well, Bob and Mary are using it, but hey, project managers together, what are your pain points? What other benefit could some future AI solve for us? And let's turn some of the exploration into a small proof of concept. So start small. Small proof of concepts are a great way to learn. You'll learn a phenomenal amount. And I'm talking small, a week, 2 weeks, and get something basic going. And many of the questions we always get asked will get answered through doing that. Once you do that, you'll actually know what you're looking for, and you can then create a business case. Then you secure your budget. Then you go through a traditional process of figure your requirements out and actually create your tool and then grow it. So small proof of concept, a thin sliver to start with. Don't try and implement all the AI you could possibly imagine at once. Tackle one pain point. Okay, so if that process is obvious, which in a way it should be, what did you who filled the survey in say is the problem? Well, the first problem that is stopping people get going and solving these pain points is they don't know what they don't know. There's just a lack of knowledge of AI out there. Or there's also so much information, no one knows what to focus on. And we will talk a bit about that in a little while. There's also a lack of proof that it's actually any good. So it's like, well, yeah, this is new. We can try it. It sounds good. But how do I know? How do I then get through the second problem, the second pain point, the hurdle effectively, is the business case. Now, what we did find through the survey is while things are pretty unstructured, people are sort of just looking around, seeing what AI fits. They're making a few classic mistakes. Someone on the top level in most of these organizations is asking the right questions. And I found this fascinating in that people are asking for business cases. I can't say if this is because they're smart enough to know how you should actually have a clear ROI on these things, or it's because there just isn't that much money floating around anymore. But clear business cases is a big hurdle to people. Because of that, they're not getting an investment. It means they're not actually able to do anything, so their maturity remains low, and now we complete the loop where they're not actually learning. The only way to break this cycle is to either jump to a business case if you can. This can be done through workshops and some things like that to figure out what you need to do, or to precede that with a small proof of concept where you can actually say, look, we spent 2 weeks doing this. I'm not asking for investment. I'm asking you for small discretionary budget to actually get going. So that is a way to break the cycle. But very interesting. It was not deep technical things that people were saying were stopping AI. It was largely lack of defined benefits and business case. So the way to break that cycle is a small proof of concept. Get going with that. It will teach you a lot, a phenomenal amount. Use that as a way to build up the knowledge you need for your business case, then get your budget approved, and then move forward. But don't try and boil the ocean. Do one thin sliver of everything. When I say small proof of concept, I'm like, let's build one agent to, for example, give you some advice on risks on future projects. Let's spend a couple of weeks doing that and no more. You will do 90% of your learning in that 2 weeks. Now, some of you may be looking at this, and this was from the survey, that people are finding it difficult and they're rating their maturity very low, sort of level 1 or 2 out of 5 in terms of AI. And also in terms of just the PMO maturity. It was quite interesting that the solid 80% rate their maturity very low in terms of this. Now, we expect this from AI because it is relatively new, but I'm showing you this so you can get a bit of comfort. If you are feeling bit overwhelmed, a bit left behind, a bit like, oh, I see this, I know I need to do something about it, but I don't even know where to start. You are not alone. I can tell you that I do this for a living now, and I rate myself a 1 or 2 because this stuff is changing all the time. All I can say here is reach out to organizations like Sensei. If you just want to talk about it, you just want to say, hey, I don't know where to even start with this. What do I need to know in terms of AI? I will happily talk to you all day. I'll talk your ear off in terms of this. So feel free to reach out to us and we can help you with this and just help you get that knowledge level up a bit. So another poll. Now we're going to do a quick sort of, what does the audience say? And then we're going to compare it to what the actual survey said. So we've seen that there are some challenges in terms of getting going with AI, but a lot of people are using it already in various forms. So what is the main focus or the main descriptor of how your organization is currently using AI in terms of project management? Those could range from what does AI mean through to ignore the last one, that's a typo, through to we're already using it in a massive way, okay? So Ellie will call out where we kind of lie, and then we're going to compare what the wider world said.
Yeah, just waiting on a couple more responses. We're at 22, okay. So I'll give it a little bit more time.
We've got to get at least half of you doing it. You can do this while you're eating your lunch.
All right, we've hit 31, so I might just call it out here, Ryan. Okay, yeah. So no awareness at 6%. Being discussed but not yet used yet is at 11. We've got individuals are using it themselves at a 36. Trials, pilot, or early experiments on team and org levels with the biggest at 38%. And then we've got the AI in use formally in some PM processes at 2%. AI is embedded into multiple PM processes at another 2%. And AI is core, the PM strategy and culture at 0%.
Okay, it's kind of what I expected, but let's, thank you, Ellie. Let's look at what had been said before. So this date from August. So that is, what's that, 4 or 5 months ago? A lot changes in the AI world in this time. So a few months ago, the majority of people were saying individual uses. Trials was a bit less. This has obviously grown. So you're obviously going through this maturity journey where people are looking at it and now starting to actually formalize it a bit more, trying to use it as something a bit bigger, so more team-centric, get a few people together, start sharing what you're actually doing. So that's pretty good. So what we had originally was a larger number than today with 0 awareness, so that is actually good. 0 on the strategic end, so I expect that. Now, I don't expect everyone to ever get to that level. It's not really necessary, not for now anyway. Awareness, but not in use. It sounds like this has come down, so it's good. Individuals, and this is formalizing of it has come up, and then using it within the PMO and wider, it sounds like that is sort of progressing as well. So people are doing that. So not too far off, but it does sound like there has been in August, 4 months ago, there has been some progress in that time, which just shows you AI does not slow down. Okay, another poll. We are coming to the end of the polls for those of you who are tired of typing. Now, who's stuck on the business case problem? We have spoken about that. So who has no current plans to invest? I'm talking about like business case and not to actually get budget for this. Who wants to invest but doesn't know how to figure the business case out? And who has funds already allocated? You may not know what you want to do with those funds yet, but you know they're earmarked for AI. Okay, so we're looking for 31 at least.
9 more and then I'll read them out. We've hit 30, so I'm going to say, or 35. Yeah. So there we go. All right.
That's good.
So no current plans to invest in AI is at the 20% mark, 27% mark, sorry. They'll want to invest in AI, but need to figure out the business case is at the 61%, so the largest one, and funds already allocated at 11%.
Okay, so let's see how the wider world said about this. I'm here. What I did, the standout to me was 61%. No, they need to figure the business case out. So when we surveyed this, 70% said they want to use it, but they have to figure the business case out. Less than 1% had the money, and the remainder had no current plans to invest. So it sounds like that is still kind of, that's come down a little, that people are starting to want to invest. Still not many have budget set aside, but a good chunk of you, slightly less, so about 9% less or so, need a business case. So almost 2/3, so 2/3 or so need to get a business case figured out. This is a common thing. It's anecdotally and through survey, we see that this is a problem for people. Defining the value of this is difficult. There are some things we can do to help you trying to figure that out. If you want to talk about it, just reach out. Okay, now, one of the problems we find, and we asked about this, is people are going out there, as I said right in the beginning, and they're asking for AI. The pointy-head boss is going up to Dilbert and saying, I need some AI. And we're like, well, what is this AI? Or they come to a vendor and they say, show me what you got. And so we show them what we've got. And interestingly, 45% are saying, yeah, what you're showing looks nice, but it's somewhat aligned to what we think we need. 23% are saying, so almost a quarter, not aligned. And the other quarter are, well, we're not actually sure. And only 9% are saying, yep, what we're seeing is actually very aligned to what we need. This is a little profound, and this tells me don't rush to go and invest until you've actually figured out your pain points and your requirements, and then you get the appropriate AI or the configuration or use of AI in a solution that actually meets those pain points. And it's not just me banging on about let's follow the classic, the time-proven process. It is definitely been said by the survey that we've only got 9% of people are obviously being very happy with what they're seeing blindly from vendors. Now, if we are seeing that people are not really seeing what they expect when they throw that dart into the dark, where do they actually want to use AI? Now, there's a lot going on in this graph, so I'm going to explain it a bit. It does actually relate to some other research we're doing as well. The majority of people are unexpectedly not coming up with uses for AI around like clear process-based use cases, like risk management. I expected risk management, scheduling, this type of thing to be a standard, like this is what they can call out. When you look at sort of literature out there, it's in what people are doing. They're targeting like sort of processes and use cases. Will help your risk, will help your scheduling, will help your finances. What people are actually asking for, they want help in the execution and control area. They want help with governance. And the automation is a lower amount. Now, we'll talk about why there are two different colors here, two different bars. But these questions actually do encompass a lot of automation. So what people are really looking for is AI to make their life easier, to get rid of some of the manual work, to get rid of double entry when they're doing things, to get rid of many different data sources that don't always agree, that they have to try and pull together. There's really a recognition that a lot of a project manager's day is spent on moving numbers and moving data around, as opposed to getting on and fighting the fight they need to fight on those projects and fully managing the projects. So that has really stood out. Generally, project managers, so you have the darker purple being the project manager and the lighter purple being the PMO roles. They're pretty much in agreement that they need it to help with just delivery of projects, to help with reporting, really, governance insights. The surprise was procurement. I would have expected to see scheduling, finance. These are very classic project management things, but they didn't even, they buried down like too low to make the graph. Procurement stands out. What is going on in procurement on projects that it is so difficult and you need so much help? That is very interesting. Risk, classic one. I thought it'd be a lot higher, but it isn't. planning and scope, so a bit of scheduling in this. But now here, when we get to automation, sort of we're calling friction here, is interesting. Project managers have had enough of doing all the manual work. And there's a lot in project management land. PMOs also do it, but they're actually suffering less than the project managers, or as they believe. So I found that quite interesting. What you can do with this is it's kind of up to you. But when you are thinking about what you are going to use AI for, what we're seeing here is the majority of the world is thinking about how to make their day-to-day life easier, as opposed to picking a particular process like scheduling or finance or risk or something like that, and just zooming in on that, which is where most solutions are actually focusing. Okay, now so we come to the end of the survey part here. There were no more polls. Those of you who are trying to eat your lunch and not type in, no more polls. We did ask about just broad concerns and comments that people had, and a few interesting things came through. So one that supports everything else you've seen so far is management isn't seeing the benefit. Interesting, because we're hearing that the world needs AI, everything is about AI, the world's going to change, etc. But management is not buying into that until they see that business case. Another one that I found interesting was someone actually said that the processes in our PMO changed so much. We are trying to rebuild the processes, the framework, the PMO, how we deal with these projects. And this came up quite a few times. It was interesting. So like if you put AI in, or you're not just locking us down into a process, we're about to change our process. AI doesn't have to lock you down, but it was interesting. A lot of people worried about impact on jobs. I think we will cover this one in future. We have some other research looking at this, but generally, the robots aren't coming to take your project management jobs because, to be honest, they don't want them because mostly they're manual admin type work. There's a lot going on in there. And what AI will do is get that work sort of pushed down below the line where you don't have to worry about it. And you get to do what you think you're meant to be doing, or what you should be doing, which is actually manage the project. So you'll find, what we're finding is that the general direction people think this is going is that project managers rise up, become more strategic, more value focused, more change management focused, more relationship focused, and spend less time typing into spreadsheets. Another one that came out that I found quite interesting was change fatigue. So here's AI. AI is new. It's going to change the world. It's going to be something new for you to implement. And people are saying, look, we've just spent the last 5 years implementing new systems and changing and restructuring. AI is a whole profound new level of change. We're tired. Give us a break. I found that interesting. But the one that stood out for me the most was someone just straight up asked, why is AI the recommended solution? And if you take one takeaway from this whole thing, as much as I want to sell AI to you, ask the question, why is AI the recommended solution? And the answer, part of the answer will be, well, let's look at what are the problems, what are the solutions. There's always more than one, many things make up a solution to those problems, and where does AI fit in? How can AI take this even further? Okay, so very profound question. I think someone is thinking exactly right there. So as we come to an end, some recommendations. Start now. I've been telling people to start now for 2 years, and they're not all starting now. AI is something you have to learn. So part of the survey showed us that people have a lot to figure out. Start small and start now with some basic prep and learning, and you will be ahead. Okay, not really small, but now. Your AI is going to need some information to work with. Okay, now I'm going to talk about this concept of data and what's needed in a second, because there's a bit of confusion there. But get some of your policies and procedures in place. Get some rules documented. So, for example, when is a project considered high risk? What does a red traffic light mean, really? Write that down, because the AI can use that. Okay, so you're just building some foundational knowledge, not data, just knowledge. As you've seen all through this thing, it's all about value, it's all about business cases. So start trying to map that out. The only way to map that out is to identify your process and where the pain points are and how you could improve those. Then You'll have your benefits and build your business case. Even if you don't need a business case, it's okay. Just don't jump to a solution too soon. Figure the problem out first, okay? Or you're throwing that dart into the dark. Now we talk about data. There's a question about this later too. When we say prepare your data, it doesn't mean what it used to mean 5 years ago. So a while ago, AI was all about prediction, about machine learning. It was training on data. Current AI that people are most focused on is language models, things like Copilot. They don't need your data to train. They come pre-trained, okay? That P in GPT is pre-trained. It doesn't need you and your data to exist. What you need to do, though, is if you wanted to do things like, hey, go through all the projects and find the most common risks for me. You need some common risks in some projects for that. So you could just say, hey, we're using the LTIS tool that we got from Sensei. It's all good, pointed at that, problem solved. Or you could say, we actually haven't been keeping our risk registers up to date. It's a bit messy. So that's how you prepare your data. Go and clean that up. Your PMO needs to clean data for reporting anyway. Everyone's PMO always has a data problem. So this is the opportunity to clean your data. If you cannot clean your data, then your option is to come back to the foundational knowledge. You could say, well, our risks are a little bit messy. You know what? I'm not going to be able to deal with that. What I can do, though, is say we have 3 different types of projects. We have a capital project, we have an IT project, and we have BAU projects, for example. For each one of those, I'm going to go and talk to some people and write down the top 10 most common risks for these. And when we finally get an AI, I will feed that in. So when it looks at a new project, it will say, oh, you're this type of project based on what I can see you trying to do. I think these common risks that you have distilled your experience onto a piece of paper, into a Word or Excel document for me, I'm using that, okay? That also counts for prepare your data. So you can do that. You can start doing this now. Then when you start with your AI, using that small amount of data you've prepared, go really small, go really quick, proof of concept, okay? Create something simple. Don't try and overcook this thing. You don't need to spend hundreds of thousands in AI. Spend tens of thousands to start. Okay, and when you do not treat it as an IT project. This has to be a joint PMO and IT project. And as you look into the future, you will find that agents, which you've all heard about, and if anyone wants more information in a future session as to what are agents and how does it all fit in and why is it important, just let us know because we can go through that stuff. The agents are going to mean that the ownership shifts to the PMO away from IT of the AI. Okay, so do not let it just be, oh, we installed some Copilot on your own. It needs to be something owned by you. So overall, as we come to the end here and start concluding, AI itself, as much as I'm making my life around it, it isn't valuable on its own. The value comes from that process of support. So you need to figure out your process, which you have processes already, find the pain points. Don't just put AI in for the sake of it. Say, these are the areas that are just taking my time. This really annoys me and takes up things I need to do and prevents me doing my job. Could AI help in these areas? Very often when we talk to clients, it's like, well, actually, I need another report or they need a workflow. Half the things they come up with aren't even relevant for AI. But let's go through that process with you, come up with requirements, benefits, then choose the appropriate AI. Okay, there were a few questions. So we're at the end now. And a few questions were sent in for this webinar. And some of them were really good and some of them were really difficult to answer. So I'll put them in. Okay. Now, the first question I've basically covered, it says, well, if AI needs historical training data to be effective, and we don't have data, how do we adopt AI and accelerate that? Well, you do it by recognizing that you do not need historic training data for all AI. Only if you are doing things like trying to predict the future, doing financial forecast, or you could say that the example I gave around risk, it needs old risks to be able to predict new risks, but it actually doesn't. Because if all you do is you forget the data, start from today, making sure you've got good data, but curate some information that you give to the AI and say, look, we don't have all the last 10 years worth of data, but we've written out, here are our procedures, here are our policies, here are some lessons learned that we know everyone should think about. As a PMO, you're generally full of that knowledge. You just wish new project managers, you had a way to get that into their head. So you write those things down, let the AI use that. So you can kind of jump over that problem. The second one, really, really fundamental question. So agents, you hear about agents. Agents are going to take over the world. Agents are going to save the world. They're going to do everything for everyone. Well, they're asking, with the recent advancement of agentic AI, which is quite good, and agents or AI generally able to deliver industry strength software, although there's a bit of an asterisk on exactly how good that is at the moment. And things like OpenAI or Copilot being able to write code, and they can. I've reused them to write code, and they're pretty good at it. So what's going to happen to off-the-shelf software or software as a service, things like Altus? You'll find that this question is assuming that you're going to build your own systems. We have a team in our company of now over 100 people building a system. With AI, it makes things easier, but you have to think about, what are you going to build? It takes a team of people just to design out something before you even write the code. You can't just jump into the AI. Is every individual person in a PMO going to try and build up their own AI solution to replace their project management solution? There's actually a lot more to that project management solution than this. So no, agents will not be able to do this, but will not dislodge the off-the-shelf of the SaaS product, but they will fundamentally change them. They will change how they work. They will change how you interact with them. They will change how they interact with other agents you may have internally. All these things are coming, but someone is still going to need to build those agents. The complexity of what's in a modern project management system goes far beyond what someone who's just sitting in there, at their desk with Copilot can do. There is a bit more there, and we will talk. As I said, there's some other research going on where we will talk about maybe in a few months on how things could look in the future. And the last one was a good one around, do projects need to all capture the same metrics in a standardized way? So basically, does my data need to be standardized for AI to be effective? Not necessarily. If you were using it, for example, to predict the future, machine learning type stuff, then yeah, you do. But we mostly focused on language models, things like Copilot now. Copilot's smart enough to figure out what you meant. So even if you don't all write it in the same way or the same language, or things aren't exactly the same, it can kind of figure it out for you. Remember that it gives you recommendations. You are not being replaced as the human. You are the human in the loop. So we do not have AI make the decision. We have it give a recommendation to you. You then look at that and say, okay, I'm going to dig a bit deeper. This thing is saying that project's red, where I actually think there's something else going on. The AI starts looking at all that non-standardized documentation, meeting minutes, emails, things like that, and it says, well, based on all the non-standard stuff, I can actually give you a really good recommendation that you were missing by looking at the standard metrics, because you're getting a watermelon project off the standard metrics. So no, it does not need to all be standardized. AI actually unlocks a whole lot of further insights. Okay, this now brings us to the end. There will be another benchmark survey for 2026 and for future years. You will see information coming out in July on this. Would love it if you want to get involved. I see a hand has come up just in time for us to get to the question slide. There was a question slide. Ellie, okay, let's go for questions. So I see, who was that? Steve, your hand went up.
No, apologies. I was looking for the thumbs up button.
Okay, no worries. Does anyone have any questions? I cannot actually see the chat. So Ellie, let me know if there's any in there.
Come through at the moment.
Yeah.
But I'll keep an eye out.
Thank you. Unmute yourself if you like. I'm more than happy to talk about any of this. If not, yeah, Ellie, go for it. I'll let you conclude.
Conclude it for a second. So thank you all for attending. The recording presentation and the AI report will be sent out to you shortly. So just keep an eye out on your email. We do have an upcoming webinar from investment to impact, breakout data silos with Microsoft and Altus. The date has yet to be decided, but it will be in March. So thank you again for coming. If you've got any questions or feedback, please scan the QR code, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you all very much.
Thank
and if
you.
anyone does want to talk about AI, you just want to talk about and work out what's it all mean, feel free to reach out. More than happy to do that for you. Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Cheers.